decision making is a very intrinsic part of the organization. Decision that sticks to the company that is best for all. You decide it, you work on the alternatives, you select the best one, and then you start proceeding further. Any decision cannot be taken on a unilateral mode, cannot be judged upon only certain factors, cannot be just misinterpreted based on certain elements. Good morning and welcome to the third session in Unit 2 in Management Practices and Principles, where we are going to talk about the decision-making process. What could be more exciting rather than talking about the importance of decision-making in our day-to-day life? Now, decision-making is a daily activity for every human being in this world. So yes, we believe that if we are a part of this universe, decision is a part of our daily lives. There is no exception about that when it comes to business organization. Decision making is a habit that gets inculcated in every process as well. So when we talk about organizations, they are no exception to human beings. They are also the same like what human beings aspire to do. They want to make decisions, and those decisions are made on every day, every minute, every moment altogether. So that's why I would say that decision making is a very intrinsic part of the organization, followed by the effective and successful decision making to make a profit to the company, and unsuccessful one make the losses. Now just try to understand this factor. What is the difference between profit and loss? This question is not from the accounting background. This question is from the managerial background. The most successful decisions are the ones that lead to profit. The most unsuccessful decisions are the ones that lead to loss. So it is a decision, it is a choice that you make whether you want to see your company in green or in red, whether you want to see your company in profit or in loss. So decide that every moment that you take a decision, it's important for you, it's important for the organization. So therefore, every corporate decision making process is more criticalized process. It is very critical. You cannot take it light at all. Now, moving forward, in decision-making process, we will choose one course of action from few possible alternatives. In this process of decision-making, we may use many tools, techniques, and perception. So what are we going to do here? We have a set of alternatives. We have alternatives A, B, C, D. We have got multiple alternatives here. But are we going to select everything? The answer is no. I might select any one, and I might say that this is what I want to execute. So in decision making, it is all about the choice that you make. It is not about just sticking to one just because everybody has told. It is not that you have just done it on a random basis, or neither it is one which is done by any formulas. It is the decision that sticks to the company that is best for all. You decide it, you work on the alternatives, you select the best one, and then you start proceeding further. So choosing from the given set of alternatives is the first step of the decision making. Moving forward, let's start talking about the steps involved in making decision. Now, many people will ask you this question: how do I make a decision? It's good to talk about in theory, it's good to talk about in pages after pages in the textbook, or it's really very good when we talk about these stories inside a system. But what is the real step? Are we very happy in making decision just like that? Do you think that decision is something that just comes out? Or do you think that decision is something that requires a very high level structured thinking? What is the mystery behind decision making? So let's just go behind it. First one, starting with the step one, identification on the purpose of the decision. Now, the first thing in our life is that we are surrounded by problems. We know that we have some problems internally, externally. The same thing applies to company. So a company will have an internal problem, will have an external problem. But it cannot say that I am problem free. It cannot come to the conclusion that I am always carefree, I do not have to worry about anything. So the first question that starts lingering around your mind is, what exactly is my problem? I know that I'm surrounded by problems. I'm not an isolated island. I'm surrounded by many problems, but I do not know what exactly is my problem. What do I really need to attend to? So the first question that you need to answer is, what exactly is the problem? Where is that you are feeling the challenge? Where is that you are feeling that there is a lack of resources, a lack of potentiality altogether? So find out that area. Potentially, you need to understand that everything is not a problem, everything is not a challenge, not everything is a solution. There are areas of discrimination. You need to know how to divide, you need to know how to discriminate, you need to know how to classify things and take it forward. So that's why I say, find out exactly the root cause of your problem, followed by how the problem should be solved. Because as human beings, the most important and interesting part of our life is the enthusiasm that we carry, is the lack of patience that we carry. We want everything in an instantaneous manner. We are an impatient generation. We believe that solutions should emerge moment we think. We think that the solution should be ready-made, it should be ready on the table even before the problem arises. But then that does not happen in real life. We always understand that the solutions have to be derived. Solutions have to be worked upon. Solutions are not just coming right out of the heaven. So what the next step is, you need to start working towards the problem. You need to start working towards a classified solution. Followed by, who are the affected parties of the problem? The next question. Look at the interesting part of this question. Who are the people who are actually fighting? Now, if you look at the scenario, let me go back to this example of the Ukraine and Russia's infamous war, which is happening right now in this world. The fight is between two countries, namely Russia and Ukraine. But the problem is for everybody. That's exactly where I want to tell who is affected by the problem. Is everybody affected by the problem? Is everybody feeling the same heat? Or is somebody thinking that, no, that's not my problem at all? So what do I say here is that in a decision-making process, step one, identify the people who are actually affected. Do not assume that everybody is a part of the party. Everybody is a part of the problem. Please don't assume. Find out exactly who are the people who are affected by it. Find out exactly who are the people who are going to get affected adversely because of the problem. So that is what you need to identify here. Followed by, does the problem have a deadline or a specific timeline? Now this is even more interesting. Problem arises without even informing you. Problem just comes in just like a bolt out of the blue sky. But do you have a time limit to solve it? The answer is no, because we never expected a problem, first of all, in life. Any organization does not expect a problem to just come out. But unfortunately, the problem will arise before the company, and you need to take a decision in split seconds. Are you ready for this kind of a situation? Which means to say that the timeline, the deadline is already fixed. You need to be ready to take a decision on the spot so that you will be able to solve the problem there. Solutions, again, I repeat it, they are not available ready-made. They have to be made tailor-made. So you need to think about it. You need to bring in a tailor-made solution for your organization. Followed by step two, information gathering. Just look at that photo that is being given on the slide. It is all about the lens which you need to use in terms of searching something. The same thing happens here. A problem in an organization will have many stakeholders. In addition, there can be dozens of factors involved and affected by the problem. Is it true? The answer is yes. Yes, it is true. People are affected. People ask this question, am I affected? Yes, am I affected? Everybody is affected by the problem. So you need time to gather the problem solutions for that. You need to understand what are all the factors that are involved here. Try to understand how will you solve the problem. In this process, you will gather as much as information related to the factors of the stakeholders involved, and then you start building up the problem solution altogether. I'm going to use this word here called as check sheets. Very, very interesting word altogether. When you collect information, not all the information is true. Most of us will agree to this point. Not all the information looks right to us, but we love collecting information. We believe that the basis for any decision making is gather as much of information possible. Put it all in a storage. But unfortunately, only few lines of that information is going to really help you in problem solving. So what we do is that we create a nice checklist. We keep on ticking up onto the relevant boxes. We say that yes, this is also needed, that's also needed. But then at the end of the day, not all of these things are going to come in terms of solving the problem. What is going to come is the relevant information, the information that is actually needed, that's accurately needed to solve the problem. So that's why I would say that decision making second step is all about gathering information from the stakeholders in the most relevant manner so that you will be able to solve the problem at the earliest. Moving further. Now, step 3, judging the alternatives. Judgment is one word that each one of us know. Each one of us are inbuilt with this word. You just cannot go away from judgment. Our mind is filled with perceptions. Our mind is filled with assumptions. Our mind is filled with all kinds of activities that probably anybody could even guess. But in this step, the baseline criteria for judging the alternatives should be the setup, which means to say that you need to define the criteria here very, very clearly. The organizational goals as well as the corporate culture should be taken into consideration. So I always say here for a minute that you need to first understand the environment in which you are working. You cannot just take a decision or a judgment based on your mindset. You need to understand the nature of environment in which you are involved. Sometimes people ask this question, if I'm working in a pharma company, is it similar to that of working in an IT company? The answer is no. An IT company will have a different mindset, a culture compared to that of a pharma. When I compare that same pharma company to another manufacturing company like an automobile, that's a different ball game altogether. So what is happening is that every company will evolve its own culture, organization policies, behaviors, do's and don'ts. Now all of them will not be similar. So one needs to understand the culture, the policies, the nature, the environment altogether. The scope of the decision is limited within the organization policies. You cannot take a decision which is out of context. So when you get into the process of decision making, the one thing that you need to understand is defining the criteria. Define it very clearly. This is the organization, these are the limitations, these are the challenges, these are the pros and these are the cons. Now you get into the decision making, try to make the decision making a real-time exercise. Please do not assume. Do not give a theoretical answer to any problem because that does not solve the problem. That only creates assumptions. That only creates a fictitious answer. But what is really needed at this juncture is that, are you able to take a decision based on the criteria, based on the environment that is present? So that's why I say, as an example here, profit is one of the main concerns of every decision-making process. Companies usually do not make decisions that reduce profit unless and until it's an exceptional case. Likewise, the base principle should also be identified. Now, just taking that same statement, profit, when you talk about profit, when you talk about something related to balance sheet, the organizations will think twice. They will try to understand whether can we do this step, can we take it forward, is it worthwhile, is it needed, all those factors. Why? Because any decision cannot be taken on a unilateral mode, cannot be judged upon only certain factors, cannot be just misinterpreted based on certain elements. You need to understand the situation very clearly here. So whenever you are making a decision for any case that is being provided to you, you need to identify the baseline criteria. You need to be very, very clear that these are the baselines. These are the, the bare minimum factors on which I'm going to take the ideology altogether. These are the bare minimum strategies, factors, baseline things which have to be kept in the mind even before I drive it. Followed by step 4, brainstorming. We have always spoken about this. For this step, brainstorming, list down the ideas is the best option. Before the idea passes on from one step to another step, you need to prioritize it and take it forward. Now look at this room where I see that there are about 5 intellectuals, 3 on the same page, 2 on a different page. Now what happens is that inside an organization, the most interesting as well as the challenging part is getting everybody to think alike. And that's quite difficult thing what I'm talking about. Why? Because when you start giving a problem to the employees, everybody will start thinking, no doubt about it. But are they thinking onto the same page? Are they thinking alike? The answer is no, which means to say that there is a challenge yet to be addressed. So that's where in brainstorming, what we tend to do is that we tend to only collect ideas and opinions. We are not finalizing anything here. We are just thinking aloud. If there are 100 people in this room, all the 100 people will think. They will try to bring out their opinions, their ideas, their thought process continuously. Let's pour them in terms of the ideas. Let them pour out with all their ideas, with their thought process, but not everything is going to get selected. What we are going to do is that we will use a cause and effect diagram, a Pareto analysis, identify all the root cause for the problem, and then we will move on. So what we are going to do is, in this stage, we're going to identify the causes with the highest effect. That's the most important thing that you need to learn here. You're going to identify a set of activities that have the maximum impact towards the problem. So you are not going to finalize the solution, but you're only going to identify in your mind very, very clearly stating what is that exactly we are looking into. What is that that's going to drive me into this factor? So one has to be 100% thorough that when you are getting into it, you're going to generate all the possible alternatives for the problem in hand. You're only generation. Please don't come to a conclusion here. That's my most important thing, which I would like to drive in again and again into the mind of people. You are only generating ideas. You are not taking the idea to the final stage at any given point of time. So this is the opportunity given to every single individual to come out with the best foot forward. Moving forward, let's try to talk about the step 5, evaluation. Once you have now generated and taken into action that what is the alternative. Now, this is the step where you're going to evaluate each and every alternative. So what are you going to do in this step? Experience, effectiveness of judgment principles come into play. You need to compare each alternative against its positive. Now, just look at the diagram. Now, is it poor? Is it fair? Is it good? Is it great? Now, what happens here is that this is where the word called experience emerges. People ask you this question, is experience greater or talent? My answer is always experience. The reason is that experience makes you bring good judgment to the table. So experience is what counts here in order to make the evaluation of alternative. So it's very, very important for all of us to understand, to compare, to find out whether things are good, whether things are bad, whether things are in place. So I would always say here, experience effectiveness. If you have to experience the effectiveness, you need to bring in the experience, you need to bring in the factor to the table where you make the best judgment, where you understand each and every alternative, the impact, the aftermath effect. Will this be good? Will this be bad? Will this be great? You need to bring in your judgmental calls very, very clearly. Once you are able to do that, automatically you will be in a position to take the best alternative into your point. So that is why I always say that evaluation of alternatives is very, very important. Followed by select the best alternative. Now you've got the answer. Now you have to just choose from the given set of alternatives. Step 1 to 5 was something, what we were doing is really a hard exercise. We were going through a set of opinions, options, asking people again and again, is it good, is it bad, can we do it, can we not do it, 1001 questions. But in step 6, you've got a methodology, you've got a solution. You believe that that's the right answer. So you just are going to go ahead and make a tick against that option. Now, this is exactly in the examination what we tend to do. Moment you are a part of a competitive examination where you have to solve a paper on an objective method, what you're trying to do is that remove all the options that are not relevant and select the correct option. So exactly that's what you're doing here. Now you remove all the unnecessary things. You remove all the bias. You remove all those factors that are not a part of your system. Now you get into action, select the right one, and you feel this is the best alternative that can be ever looked in terms of the problem solving. Moving further, step 7, execute the decision. This is where I say, after doing all the hard work, after doing all the day's work, when you're finished with your talk, when you're finished with your discussion, you are ready. Now you are completely convinced. The last step that you need to go forward is execute the decision. At this stage, please don't fall back with doubt. Again, start questioning yourself, what I did is right or wrong. No, you have taken the right step. Your decision is now firm. Please put the foot forward, make the decision happening, let it count. So that's where I say that after all the sequence of activities, convert your decision into an action plan. Put your decision forward, tell to people, this is exactly what I wanted to do. So now is the time for you to display your action. So I would say that execution is the most important thing that comes to a decision-making scenario, followed by evaluate the results. Many a times people always think that once I've executed something, I don't have to worry. Once I press the button, then the machine will run by itself. But that's not true. In real life, what is more important is evaluation of results. Have I done? Is it correct? Is it wrong? How far is the outcome? So evaluate yourself. Whenever you take a decision, it may be right, it may be wrong. That's not what we are looking. But what is the evaluation? What is the outcome? So that in future you can correct your decision. In future, you will not repeat those mistakes. The aim of evaluation is not to make you come under a doubt session. The aim of evaluation is to make you understand how you can improve better in the coming sessions. So please understand, evaluation of results is a very, very important step that makes you go from better to best. So always make sure that you continue with this step. Followed by coming to the conclusion part. When it comes to decision making, one should always weigh the positive and negative, and they should always avoid the possible losses to the organization. So we believe it very, very firmly that whatever you do in this modern world, decision making will definitely be a very important process. And at the end of the day, you should not just make a decision for the heck of it. You should calculate all the possibilities. What are the positives? What are the negatives? Is it in favor of the organization? Will it help in a sustained growth? Will it be good in the future? So take all the possible decisions that you have taken into mind and then start moving forward. Last but not the least, I would like to make this statement saying that making decisions and accepting its consequences is the only way to stay in control of your corporate life and time. Please understand the difference between a life and time is very, very important. Why? Because one does not stop for anything. The other one is just in your hands. So life and time is all about you. The time is built for you. The life is made out of you. So make it sure that you make it count. Anytime when you take the decision, make sure that your decisions stick to the right time and they make a good life for you in return. With this, I come to the end of today's session. I hope and believe that all the input shared with you will be of a great benefit, both from the theory as well as from a practical standpoint. In the upcoming sessions, we shall be talking more about the planning process, which would be even more interesting. But until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.